What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Podcast 129. My name is Hunter Waldrop. That is Jake Stinchcomb in the middle, and that is Tyler Vaughn on the right-hand side. Fellas, how we doing today?
Good, man. Excited to clean up all of the chaos in week 3 of college football this past weekend. Much needed. We had a really good slate on Saturday, top to bottom, or beginning to end, starting at 12 o'clock, all the way up until the late slate. And then Sunday, yesterday in the NFL, we had crazy chaos endings all day long. We got 2 Monday night games going on tonight. Much needed after a heavy week last week. A very unifying sport. I've talked about this all weekend to people just around that I've been around. Football, what would we do without it? Just unifies everybody. We can all agree on different things and disagree and stuff in certain points of life. Football brings everybody together for 3 days out of the weekend. I love it. I'm here for it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, really fun day on Saturday. Like Jake said, also Sunday was fun. I agree. You needed a good week of football to kind of brighten everybody's spirits, and the football gods provided. So had a really fun time watching ball this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Jake and I were talking about it before we started recording here, and I was like, dude, there was never a point in the day on Saturday where there was not an entertaining football game on television. And especially like that 3:30 on, there was 2 or 3 at the same time that just you had to have them on the TV. Everybody was sleeping on. I know all eyes were on Georgia, Tennessee, but the Backyard Brawl, that was actually a really good football game. And I know we watched it for a special reason that we'll get into here in a little bit. But that was a very entertaining football game, and that rivalry needs to happen every year. Very underrated in the sport of college football. But Tyler, you brought up a good point, Not the easiest week in the United States of America or in the world, therefore, but this weekend was very much needed with some great football, and I'm excited to talk about it with you guys.
For sure. Look at that graphic.
Jake, you explain your 1st and 10 for us this evening.
1st and 10 tonight. So after a crazy Saturday, crazy weekend of college football, we're through 4 weeks of college football. I know this was week 3, but including week 0, 4 weeks in, coming up on a quarter of the way through. I wrote down several statements for you guys. Not necessarily that I believe, some I might, just some potentially very hot takes, potentially not. I want to talk about it. So in order to kind of bring our way into conversations for all these games that we're about to talk about, I have a statement that I'm going to open up with. And we'll go from there. I will say my statement, maybe have a little evidence, I guess. Go ahead, Hunt.
Yeah, no, just let me know which one you're going to talk about first so I can get the right slide pulled up.
You're good. We can go in order of the slides.
Okay,
I'm
good.
ready for it. I'm ready for you. So yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit. And then I'll see what y'all have to say, disagree or agree. You can go back to that. I'll go ahead and knock that out while we're at it. Everybody go follow us on our social media accounts. We're on Instagram. Hunter does a great job of keeping that Instagram active. Twitter, we're on X. We've kind of been slacking on a little bit. We're busy, man. We got a lot going on. This is a lot for all of us to do. All right. And TikTok's still whooping my ass day by day. But hey, I'm trying my best. So you guys go and follow us on our socials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, comment on the video, like the video. We appreciate you guys tapping in on social media for us. With that, the first statement I want to throw out to you guys, we're starting in Knoxville. First statement I have to say, let me get this pulled up. I'm sorry, not prepared here. Not only did we watch 2 in this game? All right, Georgia won 44-41. Everybody knows Tennessee had the game-winning kick at the end, but they're just not like that. Never going to be able to get over the hump. We're Tennessee's daddy. We'll get into that. 44-41 final score in Knoxville on Saturday. Overtime finish. Here's my takeaway. Not going to necessarily say I agree with it or believe it, but this is what I'm throwing out there. Not only did we watch 2 playoff teams on Saturday, we watched 2 teams that can legitimately win a national championship. I'll open up the floor to you guys.
So I'm gonna take the reins here. not two teams that can win the national championship. I do think that these two teams will play again, whether it's in the SEC or maybe even in the playoff. But I don't think that these two teams are going to be capable of winning a national title. I just don't see Heupel being a national championship coach. We've seen Kirby do it. I think Georgia has the potential for it, and they showed it this weekend with the resiliency that they had in that game. But I don't think Josh Heupel's ready to take a team to a national title. This Tennessee team is talented, but it takes a lot to win a national title. We've seen it every year. These teams that are winning national titles are loaded. So I think Tennessee is talented, but not loaded. And I think there's a difference there. I do think that these two teams could meet again in the SEC title game, but I don't think that they're both national title games. My opinion is Georgia is a national title contender. Tennessee is not.
Hunter?
Yeah, sorry. You know me with my few monitors I got here. I'm just trying to pull up some information to really get a grasp on the take that you had here. So my computer doesn't want to load. That's beautiful. Okay. So 2 playoff teams. It's too. In my opinion, it's too early to lock either one of these teams into the playoff. I think there's no shoe in to the playoff this year yet. Maybe except for Ohio State. That's the only team I could hear it out because they don't have a tough schedule outside of Penn State, maybe Michigan. There's just no way I see that team losing more than 2 games this year. If they do, wow, look at there. It is college football, and this is the year of unpredictability because we'll get into it a little bit. With that said, I think it's too early to shoe them in. Now, are the chances of them both getting in likely? I think for Georgia, yes, this is a much-needed win, but I also saw a lot from Tennessee. This is my only rebuttal. That was not a good Georgia secondary that we saw the other day. And if the defense is the one thing we got to clean up, or I shouldn't say that Georgia has to clean up, hey, I trust Kirby Smart, right? He's proven time and time again. So that's why I think they're more likely. But don't get me wrong, Joey Aguilar, man, I'm having to eat some crow on this one, guys. I mean, I came up here and said my most favorite bet for the win total in the SEC was Tennessee under 8.5 wins. And, doesn't look good for me because their schedule is soft. That's the thing that I'm trying to get load up. So if anybody would like to help a brother out, please do so. My computer's being slow here. But
yeah, I'll pull it up real quick. I wanted to make a point on – sorry, I can't multitask.
No, you're good. I'll continue with my point here.
Yeah, I got it pulled up whenever you're ready.
Joey Aguilar. We saw Joey Aguilar, the Tennessee quarterback, in the first half, and we saw G5 Joey in the second. He completed like 52% of his passes. He threw 2 picks, 1 in the first half, 1 in the second half. How many times does a 50-50 ball get brought down? 50% of the time, he got lucky. He got both of them to get brought down, right? Is Chris Brazzell just that dude, or was Georgia's defense that bad? Or was it just, there's Tennessee's that good? I don't know. Like that, there's a reason why Georgia continued to play that style of defense because it's just like it's not going to continue to happen. However, this is beautiful for Josh Heupel, right? We've seen how Nico's played and the situation he's in. That is the worst. I'm here to say it on record. That is the worst decision in NIL history and since the era started in 2021. But shout out to Joey Aguilar. He did good. He started 14 for 14 for 214 in the air and 2 tuds. That's really good. Then it slowed down significantly after that, outside of 1 deep ball and 1 drive in the fourth quarter where they had all the momentum. And shout out to him for capitalizing on it. I'm not trying to take things away, but go with the schedule now. All right.
Tennessee schedule.
I'm going to tell you to pause occasionally.
All right. This weekend, UAB goes to Knoxville.
Okay.
Following weekend, Tennessee goes to Starkville at Mississippi State.
Pause. Tell me that's not going to be a football game.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be a 1-possession game like it was against Georgia, but
it'll be his first road SEC start also.
True. And I do like Mississippi State's defensive front. Tennessee gets the ball. That's what I'm saying. Is Josh Heupel did such a good job, and so did Joey Aguilar, getting the ball out so quick, like 2.8 seconds in the first half. Very efficient. Continue.
And then they got Arkansas at home, bye week between Mississippi State and Arkansas. At Alabama.
Pause. I don't think they win that game.
I think it's too early to tell.
It is early to tell, and we're going to find out a lot more about Georgia and a whole hell of a lot more about Alabama in 2 weeks. But I'm not selling my Bama stock yet. Continue.
At Kentucky.
Sneaky, but they should get it done.
Oklahoma at home.
Pause. Oklahoma has a better defense than Georgia through 3 weeks. Defense travels.
New Mexico State at home.
Okay.
At Florida, and finishing at home against Vandy.
Okay. Well, that's probably a 9-win team. 9 wins, most likely outcome, I would say. But there's definitely a path, an easy path to 10. Not easy, but there is a path to 10-2. Sorry, I thought Missouri was somewhere mixed in there. I guess not. But my biggest thing as far as your take goes is I want to know how successful they'll be on explosive plays through the entire SEC schedule.
Mm.
That's the only thing that is holding me back from saying yes, Tennessee 100%. I could see them in the playoff with that schedule 10-2. And same thing with Georgia. Like, I gotta give Georgia credit, guys. If you would have told me on Friday night, oh, by the way, Georgia's defense is giving up 41 to Tennessee. First of all, I would have told you you're crazy. Second of all, I've been like, there's no chance in hell they win the football game. If you would have told me Georgia's offense is the reason they won this football game, I would have told you crazy after what I saw through 2 weeks. So shout out. And I got – hang on. Tip the cap where the cap is due. Mike Bobo. Great game. Great game. Gunnar Stockton. I could be nitpicky, but I'm not going to be nitpicky right now. Now's not the time to do that. That is cause for concern when we preview the Alabama game in 2 weeks. Today, you get your flowers, man. 72%, 300 through the air, another almost 40 on the ground, 3 total touchdowns. Showed you could throw the ball down the field. I'm so glad that Georgia decided to use the receivers they went and got in the portal. My biggest concern with Georgia, offensive line right now for me still. Not saying they didn't play good, but they definitely didn't play great because I still am not 100% sold on the defensive front for Tennessee. The tight ends, I guess they think they're just pass catchers. They don't understand what locking in a block is, especially in the run game. Something big I noticed. I'm sorry. I said I wasn't going to nitpick. I thought they ran the ball great, ran it for 198. That's beautiful. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different guys running the football. That's pretty good. Shows how deep they are. Like I said, got the receivers involved. That's what they were missing last year. And like I said, guys, the defense played like doo-doo. I mean, it was not good. Josh Heupel, tipping the cap to you too, man. You finally got over the hump as far as scoring more than 17 against Georgia, and you did it in the first, 10 minutes of the football game? You outscored your single game total ever against Kirby Smart. Tip of the cap to you, sir. Chris Brazzle's a dog. I think that's a guy we got to watch out for. He can literally take a game over if need be. Shout out to him. That was not a name I knew going into the season. But both two really good teams. As far as the game-winning field goal at the end, hey, that's a football play too. Yes, Tennessee had the game won, but you got to make the plays. And we'll talk about it in Notre Dame, Texas A&M. You can't take those plays for granted, man, because, oh, man, Tennessee should have won that game. You know what? They had every right to win that game, but Georgia had enough things break for them in the football. You got to make every play. You can't just take stuff for granted. They had one go their way against Alabama a few years ago. Didn't get this one to go through. Another thing I want to point out about Georgia is their resiliency, obviously. But this is the same thing that happened against Alabama to a little bit of a lesser degree last year. Got just poured on early. and they came so close but couldn't finish the job. But this time got it done in a tougher environment. Yeah, I said it. Tennessee, definitely a tougher environment than Bryant-Denny Stadium, and got the job done with a quarterback who I'd argue might not be as talented, but showed that he can get the win in the bright lights. So shout out Georgia, and also shout out Tennessee. Great football game, probably game of the year. We're going to be looking back at this one in week 12 and 14 going, that was game of the year, if not top 3 game of the year.
Good stuff. Tyler, you got anything to go off on that? No? So I'll go for a little bit. I'll start with Tennessee. And the reason I have kind of this fascination with Tennessee is, one, I've never seen them come out against Georgia in a game like that and be the more – and yes, 2 years ago when we went to Knoxville, they came out and scored first play. And then after that, it was all downhill. Tennessee's never came out and just stepped on Georgia's throats the way they have. And they did that for, a quarter and a half? Really the first half. It was all Tennessee. And I think Josh Heupel has built this system so well to me. And I've never been a fan of the fast pace like he has and spreading people out and the way he runs his offense. But the fast pace, there were a few times where Georgia got caught off guard with subbing in. That screws teams up, and I don't think there's a way to prepare for it because as a defense, you can't prepare. You don't know when Tennessee's going to sub in and out, and there's no way to really prepare for that. So I think that what he's built within that offensive system, and now we've seen Joey Aguilar, something about that guy, not 4, technically 5 quarters. He cool, calm, collected the whole time. There was never a point where I was like, we got Aguilar right where we want him. Yes, he threw one pick, which I think the receiver either fell down or was a miscommunication on the route. But
I don't know. When Raylan Wilson lit that boy up, he wasn't the same till that last drive in the fourth quarter.
Well, yeah, he did get lit up, but very composed. Never. I mean, they lost by 3 points. That's a game where Georgia pulls away late and wins by 17 points. They didn't. He kept them in it. He started 14 of 14 and then went 10 of 22 to finish, I believe. If Heupel keeps his foot on the gas for 4 quarters, after the first drive, coming out of the half, when Georgia had their FU moment and said, we're going to run right down your freaking throat because we're more physical than you. Right after that drive, the whole offensive system just stopped. They slowed everything down. It's like they were trying to say, hey, let's just slow everything down. Georgia's got us right where they want us. Let's just change it up real quick and we're going to win. No, it's Georgia. It's Georgia. You're at home. Go ahead, Hunter.
I was just saying it took the crowd out of it too.
Yeah, well, yeah, it took the crowd out. But, there was no the aggression from the first half was completely gone. It's the same thing with Alabama back in the day. You have to beat – and, Hunter, I think you were the one who said this last week. When you're playing Georgia, you have to beat Georgia. You can't let Georgia lose. And that's Tennessee. Heupel didn't – he shied away from that. He did. The fast-paced stuff was gone. They weren't taking shots like they had been. Yeah, with the third touchdown, the longest or the deep ball in the second half, that guy was wide open. That was just a busted coverage. With the last one, I think. Shot away from that. And that's what I think the problem is. I think Joey is the best quarterback they've had since Hendon Hooker. Definitely better than Nico. Definitely better than Joe Milton. They have guys on the outside. Brazel, he's a stud. They got a few backs that can run. Offensive line played pretty good. They bullied Georgia's interior defensive line. Secondary, Georgia took advantage of the 2 corners, the 2 freshman corners, but they're going to get their guys healthy. I think they have a great defense. I don't see why this team can't go to the playoff and rattle off a few wins. I think they're the best Tennessee team we've seen in the past several years. I really do. I believe that. Not just because it's my team that they played, but the way that they stayed in that game and fought and had a chance to beat Georgia right there at the very end. I think that Heupel kind of shot away from his style in the second half and was kind of playing to survive and win, and I think they could have won that game by 2 scores. So anything on that, Hunter, Tyler?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a way they could have won that game by 2 scores. They didn't keep the foot on the ground. They did not keep the foot on the gas. Like you said, I agree with all that. But yes, it was me who on the preview for this game, I said, if you're going to beat Georgia, you have to cut the head off the snake. They're not going to give it to you. You have to beat them. They're not going to let you take it, and you're going to have to take it from them. And they did, or they did not do that. Sorry. And Georgia, you let them stick around, man, and this is just what happens. There is one thing I have to point out to you guys. So Georgia went out in the portal this offseason, and they paid Noah Thomas $2.5 million, whatever it was, to come play wide receiver. That's a big boy. That's a big boy. They got Colby Young, who's a really big guy too. And then with the game on the line on 4th and 6, you just need 6. But instead, they go all 26, 28 yards to the end zone, one-on-one. And instead of putting one of your big guys out there to do that, they put the 5'10" white guy, London Humphreys, out there. I found that very, very interesting. Shout out for them trusting their guys, I guess. But I was just like, that's the guy that they went to with the game on the line. Hey, whatever works, man. But I just found that very interesting. If you guys had any takes on
that, that's just Kirby believing in his guys, man. And I believe that. And Tennessee I think they were playing a little bit more to the sticks there. Thought that Georgia was going to go to the sticks, and I think we did have Colby on the same side. He was Humphreys was in the slot and kind of ran a double move and beat his guy. Colby was at the sticks. He beat him. Gunner gave his guy a chance. Can't beat. I mean, that's just trusting your guys, man. I love it. Tyler, anything?
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. Because you fully expected the ball to go to Colby. And I think that's why it was successful. And kind of like Jake said, Tennessee was playing more of the sticks game, but I think that play is going to be what defines Georgia's season. And the fact that that's an early, really bold take for early in the year, but the fact that Gunner had the faith to go to London Humphreys in that moment shows something. And he could have done the ball to Colby Young, who is, I believe, like 6'3", 6'4". And as Hunter said, you throw to the 5'10" white guy on a wheel route. I don't know. I think it shows that those guys trust each other on the field. They are playing together. They are playing as one unit. And that's how this Georgia team is going to have to play all season. I would say this is one of the lesser talented Georgia teams that we've seen here recently. And what it's going to take is, and Kirby has been, preaching this, but the culture and trusting each other. And I think that came out on Saturday. And I think that play is going to kind of write the narrative. Just trust your guys. They're there for a reason. So I liked what I saw from Georgia in that moment. I think it showed a lot of maturity in Gunner to go to that guy and not be look to one side of the field at Colby. So I love it. I love it.
All right. Well, that is it from Knoxville. Great game. I mean, instant classic. And I'm excited to see where these two teams go from here on out. Because Georgia's got a tough schedule. Tennessee, they got their own SEC schedule. So going to be a fun season, guys. Well, let's move on to the second instant classic of the night. Two of us on this podcast came on here and said Notre Dame was going to get the win. One of us came on here and laid it out on the table, dropped them right there in the center and said, give me Mike Elko. That'd be Mr. Jake Stinchcomb. So I'm going to give him his flowers, and I'm going to let him talk first. And, Jake, what did you think about the Aggies going on the road to South Bend and getting the win?
Yeah, this game was awesome. Just very exciting. Same kind of vibe around as Tennessee and Georgia. Everybody felt, not me, but a lot of people felt bad for Tennessee's kicker during that Georgia-Tennessee game, and a lot of people felt bad for Notre Dame's PAT holder in this one. But my take from this was, as it stands through 3 weeks, I'm kind of tunnel vision here. 3 weeks of football. Texas A&M has the most complete offense in the SEC. Marcel Reed has stepped up. His stats don't really show it, but his ability to make big-time throws when needed, his legs, he can use it. He's a runner, all right? He's grown as a quarterback. He's got several games under his belt. He just played in one of the toughest environments he'll play in all year. And he got Le'Veon Moss. He had 20 carries, 81 yards, 3 tugs. Reuben Owens, backup back, another guy that can rattle off a 20, 30-yard run for you in the backfield. Mario Craver, I believe I mentioned this guy's name in the preview last week. 7 catches, 207 yards, and a ton. KC Concepcion got him out of the portal last year from NC State. Craver came from Mississippi State. 4 catches, 82 yards. One of those was a massive, 40-yard bomb late in the game. Offensive line played pretty good, I thought, as from what I watched at least. I think this is the most complete offense in the SEC through 3 weeks. They kind of like we talked about with Oklahoma. I think they're right there with Oklahoma offensively. They're just like them in the sense that they have so many different ways they can beat you. But right now, Texas, I give the nod to A&M because they have a more established run game right now. Not only with the quarterback, but with the running backs too. Oklahoma doesn't have that. That's my biggest takeaway from this one. And no, I mean, I'm just talking about A&M right now. But before, if y'all want to respond to that, you can. But if not, I was just going to say Notre Dame is dead. They're dead. They're so dead.
I'll respond on the A&M front, and then I'll let Tyler go, and then I'll introduce Notre Dame. For A&M, program-defining win, man. Shout out to Mike Elko. This is why you go and get this guy, man. He was at Notre Dame under Brian Kelly, takes the Duke job, makes Duke relevant. I mean, he made Riley Leonard's career, essentially. Comes to A&M after just a terrible stint with Jimbo Fisher that had your highs and lows, but ended on a poor foot. You go get Mike Elko. He's not the sexiest name, out there, but he was the grittiest guy, and he kind of got overshadowed because it was the same coaching carousel as Kalen DeBoer going to Alabama. So not a lot of people really took into account how significant of a hire it was, in my opinion, and you could see the glimpses last year. I mean, gosh, year one under Mike Elko, they were literally a game away multiple times. If they would have beat Auburn on the road, they would have played for the SEC championship. Or if they would have beaten Texas, even after they lost to Auburn, if they would have beaten Texas, they would have played for the SEC championship. So shout out to Mike Elko. I want to give my flowers to him because that's a dang good football coach and a guy that plays and coaches with a culture and establishes a culture that has a lot of physicality and toughness to it. So I want to give a shout out to Mike Elko. I'm not sold on Marcel Reed. I hate to be the Debbie Downer here. Sorry. Going 17 for 37 is it's not going to cut it every single game. However, when he needed the big play, he made it. And he had long completions, and his receivers are great. Like you said, Jake, Mario Craver, everybody was focusing on KC Concepcion out of the portal. And Jake, you were just a year too early on him because you were all over him last year at NC State. You were just a year early. But, Mario Craver from Mississippi State, great game. Like you said, you already rattled off the numbers. And then you also have Le'Veon Moss back there, who's a freaking stud running back, arguably the best in the SEC right now. So the offense plays great. Marcel Reed can get done with his legs. However, I'm just concerned that they're not going to be able to have the long completions and get away with as many explosive plays week in and week out and him going 17 of 37. That's my biggest concern. Outside of that, your defense still gave up 40. I do want to throw that out there. And I said that was my biggest concern going into the game, that they gave up 40. So that is still a question for concern. But they're still a good football team. I'm not trying to take anything away. I'm just here playing a little bit of devil's advocate as far as going along with they're the most complete offense. On paper, they might be, and the ceiling and the potential, yes, you could be 100% right, Jake, but I just need to see a little bit more consistency on the quarterback position and less just banking on explosive plays. Their schedule left, they get Auburn at home in 2 weeks. They get a bye week this week. They get Auburn at home. Going to be a great football game. They get Mississippi State at home. They get Florida at home. Then they have a 3-game road stint. Is that back-to-back-to-back? I think there's a bye week in between LSU and Missouri, but they get at Arkansas, at LSU, at Missouri. I'm sorry. There's no way in hell they go unscathed in that 3-week road stretch. They get South Carolina, Samford, and they go on the road to Texas. This team could easily go 10-2. There's a path to 11-1. I don't see it, but there is a path. I think 10-2. There's also a path to 9-3. Believe it or not, I'm going to be that guy. But I got to give them my flowers, man. Like I said, shout out to Mike Elko and the offense when they needed it. When they needed the big play, they got it. So that's what I got on A&M. Tyler, I'll let you wrap that up, and then I'll start us off Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that you're not sold on Marcel Reed. I'm not either. Yeah, they won the game. He did what he needed to do, but like you said, the inconsistencies there are going to be what hurts them in the long run. Shout out to their boosters for going to getting Craver and Concepcion out of the portal. Marcel Reed needed that so that they had the ability to have these explosive plays, and they showed glimpses of greatness. Yes. However, like you said, if you go 17 of 37, it's not going to cut it. Not only that, but again, as you said, they gave up 40 points. The Notre Dame offense, I mean, outside of Jeremiah Love, they're not that special. I mean, you saw it in the Miami game. Their offense didn't look great. So are we ready to say that Miami's defense is just that much better than Texas A&M's? Or I don't know what that kind of tells you, but I think that there's holes in this Texas A&M team, and it's going to come back and bite them in the ass. And I'm not sold on them. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're an SEC title team. I know that I was listening to Unnecessary Roughness the other day, and somebody joked with Casey and was like, "Well, good win, good program-defying win, just to go 8-4." I can very well see that happening. I think all it's going to take is one moment, and Marcel Reed's going to fold under that pressure, and he's going to struggle. I'm not sold on him, just like you are, Hunter. I'm not ready to jump on that bus. So I think that, yes, it was a good win for them. They really needed that. But I don't think this makes them a top 10 team in the country. I don't think I think they're outside. I think they're probably like the fourth best team in the SEC as it stands right now. So I'm not ready to give them all my flowers, but hey, good win on Saturday. You found a way to get it done. But the inconsistencies and there's some holes on your team that are going to come back to bite you. So, but shout out Mike Elko for getting it done this week.
Yeah, no, and I'm not trying to be, like I said, not trying to be Debbie Downer, but I just don't foresee 17 of 37 and banking on explosive plays, getting it done week in and week out in the SEC. But outside of that and the defense, the skilled players in the offensive line look great.
And he did throw for 360 yards. I know a lot of these were explosive. This was the national championship runner-up, all right? Runner-up now. This team had a week.
No, Jake, no, sir.
I was talking.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
No, y'all are taking his flowers. I don't want to hear that.
Sir.
This is not the same team that played in the national title game. Nowhere near it.
I know it's not the same team. They're coming off of – they had to win that game. They had no choice. They had a week to prepare, or 2 weeks to prepare. A&M didn't. Marcel Reed in that offense went in there and put up 41 points. He threw for 360 yards, had 40 on the ground, and we're talking like they're terrible.
I'm not saying they're terrible. I'm saying they can't bank on explosive plays and long completions to get through a 8 game SEC schedule.
I agree with that.
Outside of just banking on explosive plays, the skill position, the offensive line are great. I still think the ceiling for Marcel Reed is through the roof. I'm just saying that this particular game, when you go back and watch it, banking on explosive plays is not going to get it done through 8 games in the SEC. That's all. It's a great win. It's on the road. It's a program-defining win. And that's what I started off with. The first thing I want to lead off with, you said this is the national championship runner-up. Brother, this is not your grandmama's Notre Dame defense. This is not your grandmama's Notre Dame secondary. This sure as heck ain't the secondary that had Benjamin Xavier Watts and Benjamin Morrison out there snagging up about 12 INTs in a season the past 2 years. I don't know what the hell happened to it. It's terrible. The secondary was just god awful. I think but the offense still dropped 40. I do want to give credit there. And Notre Dame might be
one of those was a punt return touchdown.
My bad. But Jake, you said Notre Dame might be dead. I think this is a 50-50 thing right now. And the reason I say it's 50-50, in my book, I'd say it's about 70-30, 85-15. Like Notre Dame with their remaining schedule, even if they run the table, I don't think that they should get in the playoff. However, their name is Notre Dame. I don't foresee. I guess there might be a world out there where they get left out if they go 10-2, but I just think the playoff committee, man, the name does it all for them, and they would find a way to put them in at the 12 seed or whatever. But I think the offense still played great. Tyler, you said outside of Jeremiah Love, they weren't too good. Jadarian Price ran it for 68 and had 2 touchdowns. Their other running back, now maybe their throwing game, I mean, what did Carr have passing? 293, so almost 300. The tight end was the leading receiver. No, nothing's changed there. This is Notre Dame football. They bring it. Dude, what happened to Jaden Greathouse? I mean, yeah, he had 2 receptions for 41 yards, but still, like, this was supposed to be the next guy up. I don't know about Notre Dame, man. They got to get the defense right. I do believe in Marcus Freeman. I like him as a head coach, but they got to get the defense right. You should not score 40 points at home and lose a football game. I'm sorry. It shouldn't happen. So with their remaining schedule, we'll see. We'll see. It's honestly going to depend on what the rest of the landscape of college football looks like on Selection Sunday. I think that's what it's going to come down to, which is not a position you want to be in. I think there's one thing that we can all agree on. It's not, oh, gosh, Notre Dame, they're going to get in because of their name, or, oh, gosh, dude, Notre Dame's dead. There's just no chance to get into the playoff. You can't say that right now because if they do run the table, it's all going to depend on what the landscape of college football is at that point with the other 130 teams in the country. But one thing we can all agree on is that you don't want it in the committee's hands. You want it in your hands, and it's in the committee's hands on Selection Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think that they have a chance to, I mean, outside of, I mean, they got USC at home, they go to Pitt. Outside of those 2 games, they don't really have a chance for that marquee win anymore. They had their chance in the first 2 games and they didn't do it. I just don't think it's I don't think they get in. I really don't. I know it's early. I know it's going to depend on everything else that happens, but I think a 9-3, I don't know, Oklahoma, 9-3 Georgia, 9-3 Ohio State gets in over 10-2 Notre Dame with 2 losses like this early on in the year. That's just what I believe, and I'm going to go with. Tyler, you got anything else?
Yeah, for them to not be in control of their own destiny is that's going to kill them. They had to win one of their first 2 games, and I think they went all in on trying to win this one, and they just couldn't get it done. I think that they are dead. But you guys are right. It is going to depend on the landscape of football, but that's also what I mean when I say they don't control their own destiny. Like, unless everybody starts getting very sporadic and losing games here and there, and the best team in the country might be 11-1, 10-2 as the number 1 team in the country, like then okay, you might have a shot. When you start to see maybe that 12 seed is a 9-3 team, they'll have a shot. But it sucks for them that they can't control their own destiny. I mean, I think that even if they win out, it's going to be hard for them to get in just because they don't have a marquee win. And, you know, who knows, maybe USC and they win that game and then USC ends up being really, really good. That's a marquee win for them. But I don't know. Again, they don't control their own destiny. They have no control over that at this point. All they can do is try and win and see what happens. And that's a tough spot to be in 2 weeks into 2 games into the season. So I personally, I'm going to label them as dead. But I don't, and it's not because I don't think they'll win a significant amount of games. I think that they're dead because they're not in a conference, and I think it's going to hurt them this year, and it's going to bite them in the ass. So I think they'll be pushed to join a conference now. After this year. Last year, with the new playoff format, they were able to squeeze in, and you know, they made their run. But this year, it's going to show them that at this point in the landscape of college football, you have to be in a conference. So that's what I think the outcome of this year is going to be. And this game was the start of that. So.
The last thing I'll say on this topic, and then we can move on because I don't want to sit here and dwell on Notre Dame making the playoff and talking about stuff that's going to be decided in December. However, another big reason why I say you can't say they're not going to make it yet is because the College Football Playoff Committee is notorious for this. Well, they lost 2 at the end of the year, but do you see how they're playing in November? Have you seen how Notre Dame's playing in November? They look so much better. They're destroying these teams that they're playing, like Syracuse and Stanford and Boston College, who they get in the back half. It's like, well, they lost to a top 5 Miami team, and they lost to a top 15 A&M team by a combined 4 points. So I don't know if we can leave them out. That's like the big thing for me. That's why I'm like not on the train of calling them dead yet. Now, as soon as they lose another game, which I can see a world like you're trying to tell me they're going to go 9 straight weeks without getting unscathed. 10 weeks.
That's what I was going to say. Is I don't think that like we're talking about the situation where they go 10-2, but I don't think that they go 10-2. I think that there's a legitimate chance they go 8-4, 9-3. I just don't think it's the quarterback play not really great. The defense, we've seen it through 2 weeks or 2 games. I just don't think it's the same Notre Dame team. So I think there's more of a chance that they lose 1 or 2 more than running the table, like you said, Hunt, going 10-2.
Absolutely. But enough about Notre Dame. Shout out to Texas A&M on getting a big road win. Very interested to see how this team does the rest of the year. I'd say they have a rather favorable schedule to make the college football playoff at this point. And whoo, 2 of us came on here and said Georgia Tech, we're going to lose, and we picked Dabo. 1 of us came on here and said Georgia Tech was going to get the big win at home, and Bobby Dodd, built by a bunch of crappy engineers who probably should be working at Pep Boys. Sorry, that was unnecessary because this team's actually really fun. But Mr. Jake Stinchcomb, I'm going to throw one stat out there, okay? And then the floor is yours, brother. Georgia Tech had 358 total yards of offense on Saturday against Clemson. And that man in that picture on the left-hand side, Haynes King, had 313 of those yards. Jake, the floor is yours.
So I'll start. I'll talk more about Tech. I think this win's more about Tech than it is about Clemson. Y'all know how I feel about Clemson. I'll let y'all talk about your Tigers and let y'all eat crow on that one. I can't wait to hear it. Georgia Tech. I think it's time we start to have a conversation about Georgia Tech. A legit conversation. We highlighted this game in the ACC preview when we were talking about Georgia Tech. Now it's here. They whooped that ass. There was never a point in that game on Saturday where I said, well, Clemson's got them. Clemson's got that. Yep, here comes Clemson. Nope. Tech controlled the game from start to finish. Brent Key, I mean, talk about a team and a quarterback. Like, they play for that guy. He's got the aura around him. Brent Key, I'm talking about, like, everybody loves him. They rally around him. They play hard for him. Haynes King stays healthy. Look at their schedule. I got it pulled up. There's a legit chance we get to November 28th and Georgia Tech's going to the Mercedes-Benz a few minutes down the road, and Kirby Smart and Georgia's coming to Athens, and Tech's 11-0. You got Temple at Wake Forest, Virginia Tech at home, at Duke, Syracuse, at NC State, at Boston College, Pitt at home, and then Georgia Tech. There's a legitimate chance this team goes, assuming Haynes King stays healthy. I need to see that. I want to see them be a little bit more less one-dimensional in the sense of all of the usage towards Haynes King, especially in these layup games, where, like, especially at home, a few of those we know that they're going to win. Like, let's try to air it out a little bit more. And that, I just think that there's a legitimate chance that they go 11-0 going Atlanta. That's my biggest takeaway. I know that's kind of like broad, but like they just dominated Clemson. I need to see Haynes King air it out a little bit more, stay healthy. They got guys on the outside, Eric Rivers, guys like that. Defense flies around. They play hard. They're physical. So yeah, that's what I got on this one.
I forget what team we were talking about not too long ago. I think it was like last week. We said that this team rallies around their coach. I can't remember what team it was, but regardless, that we were talking about a team that said, dude, they just rally around their coach and the defense and the toughness. And like the coach's culture is literally just toughness, and you can see it day in and day out on the field, off the field. And that is literally what Brent Key has done at Georgia Tech. He has finally made a team that I just have never understood in my entire life. Like, I know Paul Johnson had a few good years, here and there. Like, wow, this is a nitty gritty team. He played in a few Orange Bowls. I know he won one against Dak Prescott. Like, played in a few ACC championships. I think he won one, but like, it was very inconsistent. And now, the biggest thing that I've been just enamored by my entire life is that, like, in such a talent-populated area in the state of Georgia for high school recruiting, right in Atlanta, who doesn't like Atlanta? I mean, obviously, there's people who don't like Atlanta, but, like, broadly, it's a big touristic spot. A lot of people like the city of Atlanta. Like, how do they not have a good college football team, man? And it is starting to look like Brent Key is finally getting that train rolling to where they are going to be in this spot consistently. Haynes King, like I said, 313 total yards. What a freaking warrior, man. The defense rallies around Brent Key. You could see it. And I'm here to say it. I'll go ahead and eat my crow. Georgia Tech was they're just a better football team than Clemson. I'm here to say it. It's not one of those, man, they just pulled off an upset. Nah, Georgia Tech is a better football team than Clemson in 2025. It's just the truth. I'll get more on Clemson a little bit. Right now it's for Georgia Tech. I'll let Tyler finish us off here in a second. But my biggest concern with Tech is this. And I know it was a big game. They ain't beat Clemson since like 2012 or 2008. It's been a long time since they beat Clemson. And this one meant a lot to them. But just like we talked about with John Mateer, Haynes King cannot run the ball 25 times a game. Like, it just can't happen. Like, and I get it. It got the job done here. I'm glad it did. But the rest of your team, what? He had 313, so the rest total is 358. So what is that? 48, 45 total. There was 45 total yards of offense outside of Haynes King. 45. That just, like, I just don't want Georgia Tech to get in a position where they're on a back-to-back road stretch here in like October, November, and they're so one-dimensional and so dependent on Haynes King that they realize that they can't win a game in multiple different facets. Because through 3 weeks of football, they have not proven to me that they can win in multiple different facets. Their two biggest games, they had to run Haynes King over and over again. And I know Jamal Haynes is great, but he needs to get more involved. I think that there's got to be a little bit more of a team flowing on offense than just Haynes King. But outside of them looking like a little too one-dimensional to make it through an entire season, and Haynes King potentially like just dying on the football field, they're a great team. And the ceiling is 12-0 for Georgia Tech. And if I'm a Georgia fan, I'm looking at that schedule through 3 weeks of football. I'd say that Georgia Tech is the toughest team and the team I'm most scared of to play right now. Through 3 weeks of football, that's what I would say. So shout out to Brent Key. He's making it work at Georgia Tech, making it work in the city of Atlanta. Shout out to Haynes King. He's a freaking warrior, man. I love guys that play like he does. And little tip for the Yellow Jackets. I think Haynes King just needs to sit out against Temple. Just let Aaron Philo get some more snaps in there like he did against Gardner-Webb, and y'all just move on to the next one. And, yeah, that's what I have on Georgia Tech. Tyler, I'll let you follow that up, and I'll even let you eat your crow first on Clemson.
All right, so touching on Georgia Tech, Hunter, you took the words right out of my mouth. Haynes King, yeah, great dog. I mean, absolutely so fun to watch. It's awesome. However, like you said, you can't run the ball 25 times a game as a quarterback and sustain that. And at some point, if that doesn't change, it will come back to bite them in the ass. I said the same thing about John Mateer. I don't know when that's going to happen, but if something doesn't change and they don't start giving the ball to Jamal Haynes a little more, letting him run, or I don't know what's going to happen, but they cannot keep doing that. I think it's awesome that Georgia Tech's rolling. I think it's fun to watch, but it's not going to continue if you keep running the ball with Haynes King this much. Shout out to Brent Key. he does walk around with a swagger, and it lights that team up. They get ready to go every Saturday, ready to play. And I think Jake said this. There was not really a moment where I was like, yeah, that here goes Clemson. It really wasn't. And the whole time I was watching, I was sitting at my desk at work watching this game, and I genuinely had a feeling, and I knew deep down that Georgia Tech was probably going to win that game. So again, I think Haynes King is playing great. I think it's really fun to watch. He's an absolute, like Hunter said, a warrior. That's a good way to describe it. But at some point, the inevitable is going to happen if something doesn't change. So I think it's got to. And I like what you said, Hunter. Let him take a rest against Temple. Let Aaron Philo get some snaps. I think that'll be good for them. Especially for if that does happen and Haynes King does go down, Aaron Philo will have the experience and be able to, well, not the experience you want, but he'll have a little bit more and be able to come in there and play. As far as Clemson goes, all right, so I'm going to eat my crow. Yeah, Clemson freaking sucks. They are terrible. I mean, Cade Klubnik looks awful. He's still seeing ghosts, and he wasn't even playing as big of a game as the LSU game. He just doesn't look good. Nothing looks good on this Clemson team right now. I mean, it really doesn't. And I think that I heard this also on Unnecessary Roughness, but I think it's true. The media tried to tell us that because of how much experience this team had, and they had guys coming back for their fourth year, and this group had been together for so long. That was wrong. It was very wrong, and it's not going to work. And they've got to change something over in Clemson. I don't know what it is, what it's going to have to be. Everybody talks about the portal, but their leading guy in sacks on the team, they got out of the portal, and there's a serious problem in Clemson right now. They've got to figure something out because Dabo Swinney is going to be on a hot seat if this continues. I mean, that's crazy to say, but he genuinely is, because Clemson fans have gotten so accustomed to being so good that if they continue to suck like this and they can't play, I mean, something's going to have to change. And where are they going to look? They're going to look towards Dabo's way. That's who it always goes to. And they've got to adapt to the new what's the word I'm looking for? The new landscape of the game. And you've got to spend a bunch of money on NIL, and you've got to go out in the portal and get guys, because that's just how it works now. I mean, it's not you can't play old school football anymore. That's just not going to cut it. Cade Klubnik has to do some soul searching, man. 15 to 26 for only 207. Oh, that's rough. That is very rough. When he carried the ball more than anybody else on the Clemson team. He's not a runner. He's not a good runner. That's not going to win you games. When he is carrying the ball 17 times a game, your offense isn't going to look very good. I think that something's got to change in the Clemson program, and I don't know what it's going to be. They either have to adapt or move on. So I'm going to eat my crow now. I think that Clemson has sucked. They suck. I picked them to be in my national title game. I was dead wrong. I mean, dead wrong. Miami will absolutely be the number one team coming out of this conference, I think, if it's not Georgia Tech. And I think Clemson might slip to that 4 or 5 spot. I mean, I really do. They have no momentum. They are dead, absolutely dead. So there's me eating my crow.
Yeah, my turn now. So I also picked Clemson to be in my national championship game. And Tyler, you made a very good point. You said, I think I might have brought this up in a previous show, but I was fooled by third year Cade Klubnik, or fourth year, whatever the hell it is. I think it's his third year starting for Clemson with Garrett Riley as the OC. You get TJ Parker, you get Peter Woods back for a third year, arguably the best defensive front or tandem, or so we thought, going into the season. You got Antonio Williams, you got TJ Moore, you got Bryant Wesco. They're all coming back. Wow, this team's going to be really, really good. But you can only be as good as where your leader takes you. And sometimes you just are what you are, man. Sometimes you just are what you are. I feel like we see it with Avery Johnson at Kansas State. That's like my prime example. He's not a bad quarterback. He's not a superstar quarterback. He's been the same quarterback since he was a freshman. It's just he is who he is. There's not another step there. And Georgia Tech plays around and they play for their head coach, Brent Key, and they play around and they play for and they play hard for their quarterback, Haynes King. Clemson does not play hard. They do not play for Dabo Swinney, and they do not play hard for Cade Klubnik. It's a culture thing, man. And here's a stat for you. From 2012 to 2020, Clemson lost to 2 unranked opponents. 2 unranked opponents in an 8-year stretch. That is phenomenal. 2021 is when NIL got introduced. From 2021 until September the 13th of 2025, Clemson has lost to 8 unranked opponents. 8. That is not even 4 full seasons. And Tyler, you brought up, their leading sack guy might be out of the portal. But my gosh, wasn't Jay Knott in the portal at running back? Wasn't Hardy at Mizzou from ULM? He was in the portal. Pretty good running back. Mizzou lost Cody Schrader. Oh, yeah. Let's go get Malik Hardy. Man, that interior offensive line looks a little sketchy. What about the guys that Texas Tech went and got from the portal? Did Clemson even reach out? Did they even pick up the phone? Did they even shoot an email? Contact them? Nah, because it's not the Clemson way. And you know what? I still have respect for Dabo for living on that, but sometimes you just got to know. You either adapt or you get out. And I don't know if we have any college basketball fans listening to this, but everybody remembers the legendary Jay Wright, one of the greatest college basketball coaches of all time, especially in my lifetime. Villanova, 2 or 3 national championships under Jay Wright, consistent top 10 basketball program. He said, you know what, man, this just ain't for me. This isn't why I started coaching. I don't want to deal with the portal. I'm not trying to have players play for a paycheck in college. I'm here to give them an education and get them into the league. So he stepped down, and he does great on television. I think it's time Dabo does the same. And I don't think that it's because Cade Klubnik's a bad quarterback. I think Cade Klubnik is held back by Dabo Swinney. I think Garrett Riley is held back by Dabo Swinney. There are multiple sourceful, credible accounts saying that there have been multiple times throughout the 3-year stint or 4-year stint that Garrett Riley has been there that Dabo nope, you're not running that play, or nope, we're changing up the game plan. And he kind of does his own thing. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. Like, he has the guy's won 2 national championships. He's the only guy that's beaten Nick Saban twice in the national championship. Like, I'm not going to try and tell him he's right or wrong for that. But sometimes I feel like you just got to know your role. And, like, you got to know it's either time to hang it up or to adapt to the current landscape, like Tyler said. And that decision is coming rather fast. I'm not saying he's on the hot seat. I don't think Clemson will ever fire Dabo Swinney. Never think they'll do it. But he's going to have to come to that realization in his own head, and I think it comes on to him. And, yeah, sometimes you just are who you are, and sometimes you're held back by your leader. So with all that being said, I was wrong on Clemson. They will not be playing for a national championship. And I'm honestly concerned that they won't win 9 games this year because they got to go on the road at Boston College. Laugh at me, bro. They were down 16-0 at halftime to Troy. Have y'all seen Dylan Londrigan play? He's a pretty dang good quarterback. Bill O'Brien runs a good pro-style offense up there at Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. Then they play Duke. Yeah, I know Duke's lost the past 2 games, but who's to say that, they don't get a new offensive system rolling by the 1st of November? Because you can see the potential there in Darian Mensah. They host Florida State. I'll go ahead and tell you right now, that team's healthy. Gus Malzahn and Tommy C are going to whoop that ass. I don't care if it's at Clemson. I saw how Louisville played at Clemson last year with Tyler Shuck and Isaac Brown. Speaking of, you got to go to their house in Louisville, Kentucky, the week after you play Florida State. You've proven nothing to me to show that you can beat the toughness and physicality of Jeff Brom's team in Louisville. And then you finish the year at South Carolina, that both teams might be 5-6 playing for a spot in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, as Jake said earlier. He sent me a message earlier. He didn't say it on the stream, but that would be really funny if that happened. But that's me eating my crow on Clemson. I don't see them winning more than 9 games this year, and that's the ceiling. So,
yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Jay Wright comparison. Just like you said, Hunter, I don't think that they fire him ever. I think he's kind of got that forever job. But I believe that it's going to come down. Like, because I've heard some people saying, do you fire? Like, what do you do? Do you fire Garrett Riley? Do you fire Dabo? No, we're not going to fire Dabo. But if you do fire Garrett Riley and you bring in a new offensive coordinator, Dabo still hasn't. It's still going to come down to him adapting to the new landscape and world of college football. And I don't see that happening. I think it's going to kind of be comparable to like a Mike Gundy situation where, hey man, we're not firing you publicly, but it's time. And I think that's what it's going to be with Clemson. I don't know when. Wouldn't be surprised if it's after this year, but it's going to be in the next few years. And I don't know. It's been a good run. That's all I've got to say. Dead.
yeah, I know you enjoyed that. I know you did. And you said it, man. And we'll get to it in a second at the very end. But here's some other 4 other games for the weekend recap. I know we had a different game at the bottom. I can't remember which one it was, but I ended up replacing it with Ole Miss taking on. I had Bama, Wisconsin at the bottom. Here's a quick recap. Bama looked really good against a just less talented Wisconsin team, but they looked like they're still giving max. They're giving max effort now. They're showing that how explosive they can be, and I don't think it's a team that you should write off yet. Don't sell all your Bama stock yet. Okay, that's the recap of the game. Belt to ass, and they covered. Shout out to the cover. Good teams win. Great teams cover. Kirby, learn that, please. So Miami, dominant, emphatic win over South Florida. Now, this is probably what the scoreboard should have read, so I'm not necessarily surprised by the outcome. I got to give Alex Golesh credit, man. I mean, he's coaching his butt off even when they're getting blown out, trying to tell his guys, like, hey, it's okay. Like, I am not concerned with USF at all. This was by far the best team that they will play this year unless they make a college football playoff run. Hang on, Baker, end zone. Okay. Sorry, giving a little live commentary here for some Monday Night Football. But Carson Beck played great. You know, he just took what the defense gave him. He wasn't trying to force stuff downfield, trying to get cute. You know, just took what the defense gave him. And like I said, not concerned at all about South Florida. But, Jake, I don't know if you have anything to add. Like, I don't have a lot of takeaways from this game. I was not surprised at all, and I'm not concerned with either team as far as, like, what their season has in store.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm right there with you. I'm not concerned with South Florida. They got their 2 biggest wins of the season, like, already. This was the bit tallest task yet. Props to them, and I think that they have everything that they want still right in front of them, 100%. Sorry, you're distracting me over there, and you're still ahead of me, so don't say anything. I'll keep going. Miami, Carson Beck, man, it just watching him play now and seeing the different version of him, like still the same quarterback, just his demeanor, he's just calm, and it's just simple. He makes everything so simple. Like you said, he's not trying to force anything. He's not trying to be a superstar. He's hitting guys in open space, making the throws he's supposed to, playing calm, spinning it with confidence. He doesn't have guys dropping passes every possession. And he's got playmakers to do it. CJ Daniels, Tony. They got a good back. Fletcher, he ran for over 100 yards on Saturday. This team, man, I think this is Cristobal's window. Like I truly believe this is one of my takeaways from this game. Right now, after 3 weeks, I think they're a top 3 team in the country so far.
I agree.
Top 3. I mean, you can say Ohio State. Outside of that, I mean, is it Oklahoma, Georgia, not Penn State? LSU hadn't showed it to me offensively yet. You could say Oregon, but Oregon hadn't played that tier team. Miami, they dominated in all 3 games so far. There was never a point in that Notre Dame got scary, but they handled that game for majority of it, did what they're supposed to in this. I think Miami, sneaky national championship contender. And go ahead and get on that while you can. I did before last week, and I feel really good about it. So
I'm going to wait till they drop one, but when they drop one, I'm on it. Because I'm sorry, they're not going unscathed. It's just I don't see a team going 12-0 in college football this year. But Tyler, I'll let you hit on Miami, South Florida. I didn't have a lot of takeaway from it, so I don't think Jake did either. I know while you were gone, so.
Yeah. Shout out to USF for a great first 2 weeks of the season. Welcome back to reality. I think they played two teams that are very subpar. Boise State is obviously not very good, and Florida is obviously not as good as anybody thought they were going to be. So shout out to them for their little Cinderella run. But back to reality when you're playing a top 5 team in the country. Miami looks really good. I mean, they look dominant, might I say. Carson Beck looks phenomenal. I mean, he threw 2 picks in this game, but outside of that, he was pretty good. They've got playmakers all over the field. I think that they're a dangerous team. I think that, I think Hunter, you literally just said this, but they won't go unscathed. They'll drop one somewhere, but with them, it's going to be more about how they react. Because last year they lost one that they shouldn't have lost, and it all kind of went downhill from there, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that that's just kind of how Cristobal is. He puts everything in, and once something goes wrong, he starts to panic a little bit, starts making a couple of decisions he probably shouldn't, and I just think that's been how Miami's played football. So I don't think they'll go unscathed. I'm not going to buy in too much. But my biggest takeaway from this was, USF had a great first 2 weeks. They probably shouldn't have been ranked number 18 in the country. So I'll move on from that.
Miami at Florida State, October 4th, is going to kick so much ass. I would argue you could rank Miami number 1 in the country right now through 3 games. Have you seen how Texas has played? I don't know how well that win is holding up for Ohio State. Moving on, Tyler, I'll let you go first because you made the comment. We saw how good Florida is. How the hell do you throw 5 interceptions and still only lose by 10, which is draw for concern for LSU? They got 5 picks. Florida's defense has only given up 2 touchdowns this year. Y'all realize that, right? They gave up 1 late on an explosive play and then an unnecessary conduct penalty, unnecessary roughness penalty, unsportsmanlike conduct, I should say, rather, to USF. 1 touchdown on an explosive play, and then 1 touchdown against LSU. That's it. This defense is really good. Nobody's talking about that. It's so overshadowed by how bad Billy Napier's called the game. I don't know why the hell you've let your quarterback throws 3 first-half interceptions, and you're like, you know what? We got Caden Ball in the backfield, and that guy can break a home run at any point. That guy's a dude. He averages like 8 yards a carry. Here you go, DJ. Throw it 40 more times. I mean, I'm speaking hyperbolically there, but this is the incompetence of Billy Napier. It bothers the hell out of me. Shout out to the Florida defense because nobody's talking about them. Only gave up 1 touchdown to LSU, only lost the game by 10. Shout out to LSU's defense. DJ Lagway thought there was 10 guys out there, but little does he know that there's 11 that play on defense. But Tyler, you made the comment. Florida's just not what we thought they were. So I'll let you go first.
DJ Lagway, man, that's it's kind of depressing to watch, man. He was supposed to be really good last year. He looked good in his moments, and comes out, and if you look at the first 4 lines of this box score I'm looking at, 33 of 49. It's not great. It's not terrible. 287. Okay. Average 5.9 per pass and then 1 touchdown. And then you see that last line, 5 freaking interceptions, and holy shit, what happened? Billy Napier just isn't calling the game right. Hunter, you hit the nail on the head there. They got to get him out if they want to do anything. I think by week 6, he'll be gone. You're entering a gauntlet of a schedule. I mean, let's pull this up real quick. You have Miami this week. Then you have an off week, and then you got to host Texas. Then you go to Kyle Field and play A&M. Then you got Mississippi State, which it's not a given. Then you got to play Georgia. Then you got Kentucky, who always plays you tight and has had your number lately. And then you go to Ole Miss. And then you host Tennessee. And then you play FSU. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 ranked opponents left on that schedule. Shit. That's going to be rough for Florida. That's going to be very rough.
Florida and Oklahoma, every remaining game left on their schedule is a ranked opponent.
Yeah, I mean, that sucks. And I don't think Billy Napier makes it past the Texas A&M game, personally. Covering LSU here. They did not play a complete football game. And, I don't know. I haven't really felt like they've played a full, complete game yet. Maybe, I mean, the Clemson game, they played a good game, but there was still some stuff they left on the table. When you have one player on your team rush for more than 10 yards, that's not going to suffice. It's really not. You have to have a backup running back that's going to be able to do that. Now, granted, they only carried the ball 22 times, and Caden Durham had 15 of them, but Garrett Nussmeier only had 15 completions. I guess it might be the Florida defense. Like you said, Hunter, they've looked good, but this scares me at LSU because they should have won. I said it on the podcast last week that they were going to absolutely obliterate Florida, and that didn't happen. I don't know. It's just kind of concerning now. Florida does always play LSU tight. They upset them last year. They've done it before. So maybe that had to do with it, but you're playing at home against a team that has lost to USF and got embarrassed, really. You should not win this game by only 10 points. I'm sorry. It shouldn't happen. I think that LSU is leaving a little too much meat on the bone. They need to go ahead and take care of games that they're supposed to take care of early. They should have won this game by 20 points, and they just didn't. They didn't look great. Little concerned about that, but again, like you said, the Florida defense hasn't looked terrible. I don't know. I don't have a ton of takeaways other than that. Billy Napier sucks, and DJ Lagway is just nowhere near what we thought he was going to be. Again, we let the hype get to us, and didn't really face reality on that take. So that's kind of all I got for this one.
No, sir. I definitely said Florida was only going to win 7 games, and I was even wrong on that one. Two quick things, 2 very quick hypotheticals here, and then Jake, I'll let you go at it. Okay. First things first. Can we play a quick game of over under what week Billy Napier gets fired at Florida? Before or after October 18th? So that they have 4 games before before or after October 25th. They have 4 games before October 25th. At Miami, Texas, at Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and then the 25th is a bye week before they play Georgia.
I'm going to go, and I'm kind of on the opposite side of a lot of people. I think over, and I think there's a world where he – sorry, I'm getting a call. I think there's a world where he lasts the whole season, regardless of what happens, because I don't see that much incentive in firing him now. You've already kind of lost the fan base, but I think Lagway is gone if you fire Napier. And with the health concerns around him, I would not be surprised if you fire him now and Lagway is like, I'm done for the year. 100%. Like, I see that being a possibility. And why not just let him ride it out? He knows he's gone. He'll probably coach through. Like, I think he'd be willing to just coach through the rest of the year. Be like, hey, man, we're gonna let you ride this out, but it's the end of this year, and I think he'll ride it out. So I'm gonna go over.
Tyler,
I think he gets fired on October 12th after a big loss to Texas A&M.
If they're gonna fire him, it'll either be right before the Georgia game or after the Ole Miss game. Like, if they're like really bad, they'll fire him going into that Tennessee game just so they can start that coaching search a little early, Jake. But I think there is potentially a world where they leave him in there, but I just think it's a little less likely. But I can get behind the point you were making. The last hypothetical I have for you guys is if anybody's seen how Arch Manning has played this year, it's been a complete dog crap, just to keep it blunt. Something's wrong with the University of Texas offense. They traveled to the Swamp on October 4th. I could see a real possibility where no offensive touchdowns are scored in that game and Texas wins like 10-0, 14-0. Tell me I'm crazy.
I'm on mute, sorry. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. That game might be ugly. It might be like hard to watch.
It might set football
for
years. Because that Florida defense is good, man. But so is that Texas defense. Hammer the under that game. I'll touch up on LSU, and then Jake, I'll let you take it away. Any last thoughts, and you can start on Vandy, South Carolina. But LSU, they won an ugly game on offense. They won an ugly game. Good. Because the same LSU team that you see in week 3 is not going to be the same LSU team you see in week 12. It's not. They're going to be two totally different teams. They got time to grow. Not throwing in the towel on them yet, man. Like Nussmeier did show, like, oh, he still likes to throw a good interception every now and then, if you know what I'm saying. But sometimes you need games like this when you're a national championship, SEC championship contending team. Like, you got to win some ugly ones. So I'm not totally concerned, and I think they will improve. But it does raise some eyebrows. Definitely raises some eyebrows, especially after you've seen how Clemson's played since the LSU game. It raises some eyebrows, but I think like teams are different versions every single week. Like, they got to get right spot with an FCS opponent this week. So we'll see. I'm not gonna throw in, like I said, not throwing in the towel, like sounding off the alarms or anything. Like, I need to see a few more games. Like, I think the offense is going to continue to progress. But shout out to Blake Baker, the defense, which has been the concern. If anything, like, I'm happy if I'm an LSU fan, because the defense has not been this good since 2019. And the fact that they are pitching dang near shutouts in the second half consistently, I think that is a very bright spot that your defense is doing that good. So that's what I have on LSU. Jake, you can finish that game off and then move on to Vandy, South Carolina.
Yeah, something I kind of noticed about LSU that's different to me than it has been the past few years with Brian Kelly is their ability to win in these close games and close games out, especially early on in the season. I think the offense, it's going to come around. The playmakers are there, the quarterback's there, the coordinator's there. I just think it's Brian Kelly's trying to win games. He knows that if this isn't a performing year and not what doesn't meet LSU expectation, that he might be canned. And they're winning football games, man. And I think that's the biggest takeaway. You get a big week 1 win on the road at Clemson, and then whoever they played week 2, FCS or G5, whatever, and then another opener of SEC play, you get a win. I think we talk about this a lot when talking about long term. The best teams are going to win the games they're supposed to, survive. It's all it's about, is surviving. With the 12-team playoff and how the nature of college football is now, you just got to take it week by week. A win's a win. Same with Georgia. Like, they might not have won that game. It was ugly defensively, but they won. That's all that matters. That's all we can take away from it. LSU, I don't feel like we've seen that in the past. They've lost a lot of close games, especially early on in their seasons, and now they're kind of just winning. And that's all that matters. That's my biggest takeaway from LSU. I think the offense performance, the offense, it's going to happen. Just play it week by week. Florida, they're dead. I don't know why we keep talking about it. There's not much more to say on it. They're dead. I'll open up on Vandy, South Carolina. I said this about Tech. I think it's time we start having a conversation about Tech. It might be time to start having a conversation about Vandy. They just keep knocking off these teams, man. I'd said kind of in the SEC preview that I don't think the Magic's there, and it's still there. Regardless if Lenoris got hurt or not, they were still going to win that game by 2 scores. It didn't matter. They had control the entire time. And Pavia didn't. He just puts his balls on the line week in and week out. Clark Lee has built a great program, and they just keep getting better, They punch teams in the mouth. They don't let the outside noise, the away game factor, the night game factor get it. They just go in, they play football, they play smart, they play clean football. I love it. South Carolina, it sucks when Norris got hurt. I think that they weren't really prepared with the backup there. I don't see much. I think they were a little bit ranked higher than they should have been. So yeah, that's what I got. I think it's more give the flowers to Vandy in this one. So
Yeah, so this was the team. Remember when I was talking about Tech, and I was like, we were talking about a team that just rallies around their coach. It was Vandy. That defense rallies around Clark Lee. He set the culture there. That offense plays for Diego Pavia. And I said they don't got like a bunch of superstars just hanging around out there, but like they got like Cedric Alexander, who's a good tailback, and they got a few good receivers, and they got just a bunch of physical guys. And like Clark Lee is finally, like set the standard. This is the best Vanderbilt football team we've seen in our lifetimes, just straight up. Even better than the ones that James Franklin had that won like 8 games. But this is the first time that Vandy and Georgia Tech have been ranked in the same AP poll since 1984. That's wild. But the teams have a lot of similarities, just like a Titan at quarterback who's going to just walk through broken glass barefooted to get his team a win, with a coach that establishes a culture of physical and toughness. So, Jake, you brought up a good point. I don't care if Lenore Sellers got hurt in this game or not. Vandy was already whooping butt. They were going to continue to whoop butt. It was not going to matter. We were all on this one. We saw it play out. So shout out to Vanderbilt. And there's a pathway to 9 wins for Vandy. Call me crazy, but there's a pathway to 9 wins. So very excited to see where it goes with Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia. They're just a fun team. You can't cheer against them. So in South Carolina, man, you can't. I said it. They got a bunch of individuals. Dylan Stewart got in trouble for like throwing an absolute haymaker at a Vandy guy. Got ejected from the game. Lenore Sellers goes out with an injury. It's a lost cause. Like they already were going to struggle with Lenore Sellers at quarterback, not because of the player he is, but just because of the rest of the team around him. And now they don't have the guy that can bail them out and put on the Superman cape anymore. Like they got Luke Doty back there, who I'm shocked that guy's still in college, but I hope Lenore Sellers comes back because he's so electric, and I want South Carolina to have the best season they possibly can. But with or without him, this is a 7-win team, guys. It's a 7-win team. We said it in the preview of the SEC. I mean, still a long season ahead, but hey, Shane Beamer, it's Virginia Tech calling. How are you, sir? Just throwing that out there. Tyler?
I know that's the second time you've taken something I was about to say. Shane Beamer might be headed up to, what is it, Blacksburg, Virginia? I think they're going to come calling, especially right now. Vandy's fun to watch. I like watching them play. Diego Pavia, it's really awesome to watch him ball out, especially knowing his story, where he came from. Shout out Theo Vaughn, gets to take his mom on a date. That's pretty cool. She's pretty good looking woman. So Theo, hope you have a great time with that. If you ever somehow stumble upon our show, shout out you. But I'm gonna keep it brief here. I think South Carolina was overrated, very overrated, and you can see that in the Virginia Tech game. I bet on Vandy. They won. So I'm jumping on the Vandy train. I think they're going to be a pretty good team, pretty solid, and especially in Vandy terms. So I'm excited to see where the year goes for them. I think that they, like you said, Hunter, they rally around their coach. They're really playing for something other than they're playing for their pride. They're tired of being the laughingstock of the SEC, and I don't think they are anymore. So first time in I think in my lifetime I've been able to say that. So it's pretty awesome.
Good stuff, fellas. And then the last game I had on here was Ole Miss taking on Arkansas. This was a sleeper game in the middle of Florida LSU going on, Notre Dame versus A&M going on. This was on ESPN too. Or it was on ESPN, and Florida LSU was on ABC. But, guys, this was a really fun football game to watch. And I know the score kind of tells it right there. High scoring. Taylor Green looked pretty good. Ole Miss's defense draws some concern to me, just a little bit. But the story of this game does not revolve around that because, hey, Ole Miss got the win. And the final spread was 5.5. and they covered the 5.5. So shout out Lane. He knew what he was doing. But I had Arkansas plus 8.5, which also covered. So we'll meet in the middle there. However, the point is, the story of this game is that Austin Simmons did not play for Ole Miss. Austin Simmons got hurt with an ankle injury at the end of the Kentucky game. They bring in Division II transfer, national champion from Ferris State College, Trinidad Chambliss, sick name. And homeboy went up there and threw for like 347 yards, and he could also run it. Not like an electrifying breakaway speed type of guy, but he can run the football. And I just find it interesting that, wow, well, Lane just – I feel like Lane Kiffin could put just about – he could put Jake Stinchcomb out there, and Ole Miss could have won this football game. Like, he's just that good of a coach. He could have put any of the three of us out there. That is not an insult to Jake, trust me. I was just saying that because Jake played quarterback in high school. And it's honestly just a credit to Lane Kiffin. So I'm just interested in watching that quarterback battle. Also, Arkansas hosts Notre Dame in a few weeks, and that is a losable game for Notre Dame. Like, I think Arkansas is a scrappy team. They got an offense that can put up a lot of points on you. And I'm just very interested to see how this season plays out for the Razorbacks because not enough people are talking about them. And whereas a lot of people are talking about Ole Miss. So very interesting game, very fun game to watch. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. Lots of scores, not good defense, good offense on both sides. Just thought it was a very interesting game for the SEC and a good win for Ole Miss.
Yeah, good win for Ole Miss. Oh, Tyler, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say this. Taylor Green had 420 yards offense. That's freaking crazy. That's awesome. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, I feel like these teams we're always in for an exciting game with a lot of points, and that's exactly what we got. I want to come out and say that I was wrong. I think I kind of had tunnel vision on Austin Simmons. It was the one drive against Georgia that got me. And I was wrong. Hadn't looked great. I think he's still young. I believe he's only a sophomore. So he'll be back next year, and the Chambliss guy's a senior. I think he's gone after this year regardless, I believe. Good win for Ole Miss. Offense is there. Just got to figure out a way to get some stops defensively, and I feel like that's always the narrative for Lane Kiffin and his Rebs. So good game. This was an exciting one, very under the radar just because of so much that happened, especially on Saturday night with LSU and the Notre Dame A&M game, and then Vandy. This one kind of flew way under the radar. It was a great game down the stretch. So nice cover for Ole Miss on the closing spread.
Yeah, no, I agree. Very interesting game. Excited to see how this goes. Taylor Green is the most underappreciated quarterback in the SEC. I'll say it. Not enough people talk about him. So, all right, moving on to Tyler. Play the music, bro. Play the cha-ching. Play the soundbite right now. I'm ready for when that comes out on podcast. But shout out to the fellas. Okay. The fellas came out here we recorded on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night last week. We all looked at the slate and we gave you 3 underdog teams that we thought were going to win. We call them Saturday Shockers. Teams that were not favored in their games and some odds longer than others. And there's no disrespect in that. We picked who we were most confident in as an underdog plus money. And the fellas hit. And it hit in the most electric fashion possible. Rich Rodriguez, after 17 years, West Virginia was 1 win away from going to play for a national championship. And he loses to Pittsburgh. And then he's never seen from again. He goes to Michigan, goes and does his own thing for a while. His first backyard brawl back, West Virginia, after losing to Ohio at home. They come back home, and they get a win in overtime. They forced overtime. They had to drive the length of the field with 1 timeout left in the game to force overtime. And then they get the win in overtime with 3 starters on offense out. They had a 9 lineman package with just the quarterback and the running back. If you like big boy football, please go watch that. Obviously, we've hit on Georgia Tech. But what's up, Nico? Learn New Mexico, buddy, because this game could have been 45. Oh, gosh, Baker. Sorry, getting stuck on Monday Night Football again. But this game could have been like 45-0 if they really wanted to be. So shout out to New Mexico. And speaking of UCLA, they did just fire their head coach. And like I mentioned earlier, the worst move in NIL history, Nico Iamaleava going to UCLA. And that's all we got for you, folks. Thank you as always for listening to us. We appreciate it. This was our week 3 recap. We'll be back a few days later this week when we preview a much underrated week 4 slate coming up. As always, God first, God bless. Jake, close us out, brother. You're muted.
My bad, everyone. As always, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe to the video. Please comment. Please like the video. We really appreciate that. If you need to listen to this on your commute to work, while you're at work, while you're at the gym, you can also find us Apple Podcasts and Spotify, wherever you get it at. We appreciate you guys tuning in. That's Podcast 129.